Some passenger rail services recently resumed in Gauteng, bringing much-needed relief to public transport users. In fact, so how do we expand this progress and we get more trains running to grow the economy? eNCA's Pule Letshwiti Jones is following that story for us right now. And let's start the conversation right there, Pule. How do we get things going? You are on the ground for us this morning.
Yeah, definitely. Before we could just, purchase the ticket and see if we can get inside the, train station, there are various issues, of course, that have affected the Transnet and PRASA as well. But, well, you'd remember just, I think, a few days ago, I stand to be corrected, 4 or 5 days ago, the president held a meeting with various CEOs from, big companies in the country in which they were discussing issues affecting the economy and how the private players could come in to help the economy. Apart from, well-known challenges such as load shedding, one of the issues that were, of course, discussed were around, covering transport and logistics challenges as well, which would speak to, fixing the railway system to ensure the proper transportation of, logistics such as coal or other resources as well. But most importantly, we do understand that that work of looking into those issues will be directed through various committees, one of which includes the National Logistics Crisis Committee, which should look as to how they can try and fix the railway system. But on top of that, we have PRASA as well, which has been incurring a lot of challenges, such as mismanagement and, of course, its infrastructure being vandalized. And at the end result of that is that it's been decaying for a few years now. But I'm going to be chatting to the DA just to get a reaction from these challenges. Mr. Fred, now, thank you very much for speaking to us. Let's just touch on the first issue here, the national logistic crisis, speaking to the railway system as well. Surely that must be, a bit concerning that CEOs urgently wanted to meet the president and discuss this matter.
Yeah, absolutely, because, it's one thing to stimulate the economy and try to produce either minerals or on-the-spot processing or manufacturing goods, but it's another thing to get them to our ports and then to get them out for export, and that's where the crisis really lies, and that's where railways can play such a crucial role, because they can move masses of goods to the ports. But unfortunately, the infrastructure doesn't work. The rolling stock is old, the diesel locomotives break down, tracks are being stolen, signalling doesn't work, and therefore various train trips are actually cancelled and cannot transport goods that are necessary for the economy to grow in order to export it.
When we now move over to PRASA as well, what do you think could have been, the urgent interventions to fix the, PRASA's railway, infrastructure, amongst other issues? I mean, you visit Germiston, for example, and you see how, the infrastructure has been vandalized and is decaying as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it starts with safeguarding our infrastructure, and we have a huge problem with that in Gauteng, especially with electrical infrastructure being stolen, railway infrastructure being stolen, public transport infrastructure being stolen. So it is a massive thing, the safety of our infrastructure in our province, that needs to be looked after. But then you also have to look at the management of these. If there was proper management in place, one would have expected that there would have been proper safeguarding of the assets in place as well. And we need to make sure that PRASA is well managed, that their planning is good, that the investment in the infrastructure is proper, and that they invest in modern technology for the railways, for commuter transport.
The DA has been quite, persistent in terms of calling for various issues, or rather suggestions, such as, having a more inclusivity of private players when having to look into the management of PRASA and Transnet as well. Is that still the consistent call?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a disjointed planning in terms of rail transport in our country, between the logistics parts and the passenger part, and then the tracks, and who owns the tracks, for instance. But we believe that if we should corporatise that infrastructure, the railway tracks, then it opens up the space for competitors to come in and provide services on the existing rail lines, where Transnet and PRASA is not providing those services. And we believe that the private sector, if they enter the market, could give quite a good service, reliable, safe service, clean, affordable service to commuters, but also for the transport of goods.
Is it too late to, revitalize or rehabilitate the railway system in South Africa?
No, it cannot be too late because we have to revitalize it. We cannot go on the way that we are with the way that we transport goods, for instance, on our roads. We need to move more people and more goods to rail, and we need heavy investment into rail. And there's a huge opportunity to stimulate the economy by investing in rail. Yes, it's going to take much longer because the degradation is so bad. So it's going to take longer to fix it, but fix it we must.
Thank you very much. Of course, William, that's Fred Nels, DA Gauteng caucus leader.